Okay,
Okay, now we have to get over to the.
Okay.
Yes.
Sides of glass. Makes like a.
Hmm? Here, slide over.
Automatically senses to speak.
Good.
What's it different from the last couple of years?
I think so. I think it's a new.
It feels.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Southborough Housing Opportunity Partnership Committee meeting on Monday, December the 5th. And first item, approval of minutes from September the 29th. You all were sent the minutes, kind of late, but you were sent the minutes. Do we have any corrections?
I make a motion to accept the minutes as written from December, what was the date again?
September 29th.
September 29th.
I have a second.
Second.
All those in favor, it's a roll call vote. Jesse,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Doug,
Aye.
and Andrew.
Aye.
And Dorian is an aye. Okay. Next thing on the agenda is the MAPC final draft presentation to the BOS. We still, Sarah, so we need to still work on that date with Emma, correct?
Yes, I think we're just waiting on confirmation from the select board as to when we can get on their agenda.
All right, so we need to send a letter to the BOS to meet with Emma with Shopc. Correct? And that's all that's left. She'll just do a presentation of what our strategic plan is,
Yes.
right? Warrant article preparation, that's gone. MBTA communities. So I sent you, Yes.
War article preparation, so that's.
because we pulled it.
Okay, but so what about for, I left a placeholder on the. For the springtime meeting.
Oh,
warrant.
for the spring, we
Yeah, so-
haven't even gotten there yet.
Okay, because the warrant is open
Okay,
and, if you've got something drafted, that's, and I think the last. meeting
Yes.
Okay.
but that was with the money that was transferred. I think what we wanted to try to do is do an annual transfer. So the money that's approved from CPC for housing, we wanted it automatically transferred. Do we want to bring that forward for the town meeting in the spring?
I mean, if it's already, my thought is if it's already drafted
already
and we want to do it, everyone's in favor, why not just put it up?
So and this will be just, so. If you have something already drafted, we can just. I'll bring it forward to the select board and ask that we just put it as a placeholder.
Okay,
Right, so that therefore, and then there'll be opportunities before the. The warrant is closed.
To tweak it.
Yeah,
Okay, that sounds good. And then the other part of that is,
but time will go fast. So the meeting is in March.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so Month before that, you got it.
okay. I didn't think we were to do that now. That's why I said we're not gonna do that now.
I mean, as long as it's already
But we already
done.
have it,
and
yeah.
It's got somewhat support.
Okay, so I will get that out to you guys sometime this week, so you can all revisit it on your own, and then you'll have it.
Yeah, and then the other part of it, just to clear my mind of something clunking around, is we also wanted to keep an eye on how the normal appropriations from into that fund is drafted. So that it's not drafted to make it contingent upon CPC support.
I think that's what our warrant
Well,
article.
does that cover both? Because I remember two separate articles.
So it
Yeah.
was, well, one was to transfer the 196, which they did do already, so that's already gone to the affordable.
Is that the second one, Sarah? Is that what you're remembering too?
Yeah. So what I'm remembering is, the one was to release the funds that had already been allocated at town meeting. And the second is to clarify moving forward. So I don't know if there are other funds because we only drew on the funds from 2009, 11, and 12, I think that was. So if there are other, funds, sort of sitting in that housing bucket, maybe there's an opportunity to transfer the rest of those into the Affordable Housing Trust. I mean, that would, be, I think, engaging the town accountant to see, if there are more funds that could be transferred. But the second one that we have drafted already is sort of clarifying that language so that moving forward, it's just automatically transferred without any contingencies.
And just to clarify, because what had been happening before, just to maybe bring Doug into the mix on this as well, and Andrew back to this, is that the way they were always drafted, monies were appropriated for affordable housing. But it was always drafted year after year the same form, so that it would go to CPC and then give CPC discretion to authorize it going into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. So we're trying to eliminate a middle person so that it wouldn't go to CPC. So the language of that appropriation wouldn't say it's going to go to CPC with discretion to go to the next stage. It would be drafted the way they would go.
Which gives us the opportunity to react quicker to if something were to come on the market, whether it's land or a building.
Just
something we
mechanic.
wanted to do for housing, affordable housing. We only have to go to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund with a plan, with an idea of what we want to do and where the money would be going, and we would present it to them. Instead of going to CPC, getting approved from CPC, and then having to go to the Affordable Housing Trust.
And
So
so
by the
just,
time you get that through, we've missed out on.
We've
pretty
missed-
decent
we've only
properties.
missed out on
Historically, it's
opportunities,
been a
so.
total failure. I can't think, I've been on this committee now 5 years, 4 years. I can't think of one piece of property that we've converted over to affordable.
Yeah, because we don't have an opportunity, our hands are kind of tied,
Well, definitely sounds like it makes sense to take out the unnecessary stuff.
Yes.
Yeah,
and our town council,
Yeah.
that's an unnecessary step, and no other town has that, so.
but the bylaw that you remember, Sarah, that took care of that issue. There wasn't a separate appropriation warrant article that would go. that would-
The bylaw,
In other words, I thought we were talking about one bylaw that would deal with this issue, but then secondly, I thought there was a separate every year there's an appropriation warrant article that is drafted a certain way
Yeah.
that offers money to go from this general funds into designation for affordable housing fund. So I don't know if that's covered within this. I guess we can look at the warrant article that Jay drafted and see if that covers it.
yeah, I'm pretty sure it does, because what it does is it eliminates any of that contingency language. So I think that takes care of it. It still has to be, voted on by CPC and by, town meeting to get it into the, housing bucket. But that can say that the housing bucket transfers immediately.
Yeah, so it's all maybe part of the same. Okay. so-
Right.
forgive me if this has already been said, is there a timeline that the CPC has to approve it to the housing bucket by written in the bylaw? Because it's not gonna be like, oh, I just want to make sure that the town meeting doesn't approve it in the spring and that the CPC has up to 6 months to put it in, but it's a language and then makes it like a
An immediate
30 days or
transfer.
an immediate
It's
transfer.
an immediate transfer. Once
There
it's
is.
Yeah.
approved.
We're trying to get it so it bypasses CPC entirely.
That makes sense, because if it's gotta wait 2 months till after town meeting. for the
Right. I thought
CPC
it's
to have
just
a meeting.
I thought we learned to
No,
go
it's-
right into the
So the money that,
housing trust fund.
so every year, the state gives certain percentage to CPC. The CPC has certain buckets, so they have.
It
an
has to
historic-
flow through CPC.
So that has to go to CPC.
Has to.
We have a housing bucket.
Okay.
That housing bucket, that would, as soon as they get the money, that should be an immediate transfer to the
That was,
affordable housing.
that was the
Trust.
now CPC having a vote on it.
Yeah,
Right.
it just, okay.
So other towns, Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong, but other towns don't have a trust fund. They just have CPC. We have the Affordable Housing Trust Fund to protect the money and to make sure that something is actually going to happen the correct way. We're not just gonna do whatever we want with the money, like go to Disney or something, but we're not gonna do that. It's gonna go to a trust fund. The Board of Selectmen oversee that and 2 other members of the community. And they get to vote whether they want to accept the project or not. But to have to go to CPC, get approved, and then go there, it takes too long. And you've missed your, yet another opportunity. So we've got to cut out some of these steps. It's impossible to get anything done the way it's set up. So Sarah, I know I pulled up the old language. I found the old, the original, but we were waiting for the Jay Tallerman letter, which we do have. I just couldn't get my hands on it quickly. If you can find that in your documents, can you send that over to me?
Sure.
And then I'll get it out to the board.
Sure.
So let's get the language for the warrant article that we had written, and Jay Tallerman's letter and his comments, and we'll send it to everyone. You can send that to me. I'll forward that to them this week so they have it.
Sure.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. I printed two. Okay. The next, does anybody have any other questions or comments? We'll get that information to you this week, and then Andrew, you can use it as a placeholder for now. We can still discuss
Okay, good,
it,
because that,
change your vote and at our next meeting, but at least you'll have.
that would be my suggestion, even if it's
Absolutely
gonna
that,
need to draft.
right, yeah.
I'll send it and ask it to be included on, the draft warrant changed a lot.
Okay.
But then it's there and people see it, they know to expect it,
Okay,
and I'll let people know.
I was just gonna wait till January to get back to that. That's when I put that on there. I said, oh, I pulled that. I said, oh, I guess I didn't. I
Yeah,
left it on
okay.
there. Okay, okay, MBTA communities. So, I and Sarah went. Don't think anybody else was there. Yes, Doug, you were there, I think. For the meeting with the planning board.
I was not there.
Oh, you didn't go. You did
Oh, no,
not.
I signed, I'm sorry, I was remote.
It was-
Yeah, I was on, but I was remote, yes,
15 minutes into their meeting,
Yeah.
that's when they brought us in.
yes.
I very nicely said, okay, guys, just a heads up, the next time we're meeting with the planning board, you're coming to our meeting. Because I'm not spending three hours and 15 minutes to wait for you again.
Yeah.
Really sorry. I appreciate everything you do. You do a great job, which they do. But that was a long wait. I mean, they had to get through a lot of other stuff too, so I totally understood, but
Was it in-person meeting?
I had like they had, I was remote, but they had
Okay.
like, I was on for like 3 minutes.
Yep.
And so, to me, I would have rather just had them come here. So sorry, Jesse, you're gonna have to come to 2 extra meetings. Okay, so anyway, Mimi and Colleen have been working on the MBTA action plan. And this is due on January 31st, I believe. And Colleen sent it to me and I looked at it and I sent it back to Sarah and I asked Sarah to please take a look at the document and make corrections, because she has been working on the MBTA stuff for a while with us before she left, and then under the grant we have her, we need her to work on some of this too, because this is affordable housing stuff. So she made some corrections. I did email that to you. Did you guys get that? I did everything today. I'm so
Oh,
sorry.
yeah, I did not see there was a draft action plan.
Yeah, so there's,
Sorry, I
I
didn't
have
see that.
here. I gave you a copy. You guys want to take a look at this?
And I can share it too, if that's helpful.
Can you? Oh, that would be
Yeah.
great. I did send it to everyone, and Sarah made the answers that were sent, they were too simplified. We wanted it to have a little more meat to it. So I asked Sarah to step in and give like an hour to it, so she did some work. So
Oh,
this would be what's
says
going.
that the host has disabled participant screen sharing. Is there a way for you to enable that?
I'm gonna see if I can. I'm gonna make you a co-host, okay?
Perfect. Thank you.
That should permit you to share your screen.
Great, thanks. Okay. All right. Can everybody see my screen okay?
Yep.
Great. So yeah, I just added some context in the blue text here. If you have it printed in front of you, it may just be in black and white, but just wanted to add some additional information in regards to where the rail station is located, and just some kind of GIS maps, that I added in, where you all have seen before. I created those about a year ago now. Then I additionally added under 1.8, just kind of some members of the core team, and how we've been working through this, since its inception, trying to sort of stay ahead of it as a town, working cross-functionally with the planning board to make sure that things are moving in the right direction. I then added some additional context under 2.1a, just kind of describing strategies and goals that we've identified, through the housing production plan, the 5-year strategic plan that we just finished up, and the 2021 master plan. So same thing here, just kind of added a little bit about the South Union School building and that subcommittee, and how we're working on that as well. This is actually, so this was not checked off for 3.1. So I believe, though, that the town is looking to do an overlay here versus changing base zoning. I feel like that's what we've talked about. We didn't explicitly mention it in the last planning board meeting, but that's my recollection. So I just checked that box off.
Sarah, one quick comment. I mean, I'm just noticing that 3.1, it allows you to click more than one. So I don't know if you want to just click both just in case.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
I mean, maybe C and D.
C and D. Yep. Thank you. Well, I would do that later. And then, because this is actually not a fillable PDF, I had to override all this. So then in 3.1C, again, just sort of added some additional information and attached the, drafts that we came up with last year. Just kind of indicating that we obviously made those drafts when we thought that all 50 acres needed to be within that 0.5 miles. But now that we know that it is only 20%, that we may be, looking at sites sort of, around Route 9 that we were talking about, because South Carolina doesn't have the city and sewer infrastructure. So, that high density development on Route 9 might be a good fit for some of the space designated for this particular project.
There's limited water on Route 9.
Okay.
That's the problem. There's limited water, limited that's what we don't say, like labs. And Sarah, what would we have to change the zoning laws along Route 9 to allow for housing on a lot of it? Where we're interested in putting this stuff?
I think that would definitely be a component of the discussion, but
Is it like, my question is where they're looking at putting on Route 9 is already zoned for residential?
I think
Like, I apologize. I didn't.
no, that's okay. Maybe
9.
Jesse would be better to answer this, but I'm 90%.
Sorry, what's the question?
Where along Route 9 are they?
Like
were
the
you
business
guys
highway
discussing it?
district, does it allow multifamily housing?
It's like industrial, I believe.
But Route 9 is far away from the MBTA station, isn't it? I mean,
Yes, but
Yeah, that's
20%, right?
no, I know that's required to be within a half mile.
But the rest of it can be anywhere else in town.
Is that right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Because we have such limited resources.
Oh, okay. Because sort of the whole point of this thing was supposed to be that there was close to rapid transit, so you could,
Ooh. Yes, but I think that because there's so many communities where there are challenges keeping
Yeah.
that amount of acreage within that small of a catchment
An
area.
earlier draft said that even if it's not within the half mile, it still has to be within sort of what's deemed to be close proximity to the MBTA. It's a
Right. Mm.
So just going back, I guess my comment was just to come with this Southport does not have city water or sewer. It probably should say Southport does not have city sewer and has limited water capacity along Route 9. It just seems odd, right? So we do.
Yeah, that's-
We do have water. It's just a.
We don't have city, water. We have, we.
There's state water bill. I'm better to say it. It's gonna be a bill.
Yeah.
Actually, Oak Hill.
Yeah, but not.
Oh, you don't live there?
No, I live on Latchfield now.
That's why.
Yeah, that's a.
So, the other thing I also emailed you, Sarah, I sent everyone the maps that when this law first came out, and it's been changing as we've been going. It's changed multiple times already. But these maps that I sent are the original maps that Sarah had pulled. Is this the 50 acres, Sarah?
Yes,
This is the 50 acres.
Yes.
So an overlay district, and we try to include the South Union School area included in that, but it's also only on one side of the track because Hopkinton abuts the other side. So we can't really go the other side. Everything has to be on one side of it. These were just ideas of possible overlay of the area of what they wanted.
So just point of clarification, because I've seen this both ways now. Is the MBTA law actually in Southport or in Hopkinton? And is I think it's McCarthy Pools or whoever has is that in Hopkinton or in Southport?
That's
Okay, so it is the white area on this map is correct. That is in Southport. Okay.
yes. Anyway, just so you knew, we had done earlier, these were the overlays that we were looking at for an overlay district. I did email that stuff and I apologize, I did send it out late.
Yeah, no, I did.
I'm not used to having to do all this.
Just a quick question for Sarah, on those maps. I know that these have been floated around for a long time, but this, of course, I've really sort of looked at them really hard substantively. What was kind of the idea behind the different configurations? Was there some operating principle between where you guys decided to put the lines?
no, actually, this was pretty early on and these were just rough drafts of, what the shapes could potentially be. And when I made them, I just thought that, what would it look like if we went, as long as we could along, kind of east-west, and then what if we kind of clumped everything together? So I didn't have any true parameters in terms of what the shapes looks like, other than to try to show variation.
And it's an overlay district. This doesn't mean that this has to be gutted and ripped down and made into housing. That means,
Yes.
okay, if we're gonna do this, this is what we're gonna designate the area to be, so as things come down and get old and we replace things slowly, this would be the area that we.
And I guess my 2 cents of this is that whatever map we come up with and recommend, I mean, in my mind, it should be meaningful. In other words, we should be trying to create a district that is designed to achieve the objectives of the MBTA bylaw, which is to have dense housing in close proximity to the T station.
Right.
So,
The other issue is, and Jesse, correct me if I'm wrong on this, planning has to agree that this is the direction the town's gonna go in. So this has to be a planning vote that.
I don't know if that's entirely true. I mean, you could theoretically circumvent the planning board to get zoning changes done. But it would be extremely difficult.
But I mean, if Shopc and the planning board, the 2 boards are sort of spearheading this process and collaborating and putting together the action plan, I sort of think we should be working collaboratively with the planning board to decide if we need to come up with some map to send with the action plan. I sort of think that Shopc and the planning board should.
Oh, yeah, no, of course. Sorry, maybe I misunderstood the question. I thought that what I was being asked is it possible to make zoning changes without working through the planning board? Tom, you'd be correct that the path of least resistance would certainly be to have a planning board sponsored initiative. And I mean, the planning department is actually, the the body that submitted the action plan. So, the steps are moving along as far as I can tell.
Yes, so if the planning board has had any discussions on the boundaries of the zoning district?
No, actually, today was the first map, and great job, Sarah. You're
Thanks.
missed in the planning department, Sarah. You gotta come back. That was the first map I've seen that I can recall, and it looks great.
One quick question, Sarah, more for you, but there are some wetland areas, so just curious, 50 acres, was there certain parameters about how much?
Yes,
has to be
not-
buildable?
Yes, it has to be 50 acres of developable land.
Yes,
So we can have 100 acres, but only zoning district. But if
Right.
only 30 acres are actually developable and the rest of roads and bridges and wetlands and lakes, then it won't count. So
Right.
it has to be 50 acres minimum of development.
yes,
I was going, some of them include, just the strip between Port or Southfield Road and the tracks, which, they're wetlands.
Yeah.
yes,
And
Yeah.
that's, sorry, I don't need to keep talking. I'll shut up after this, but just to spit out one other thing, when we determine the parameters of this. I think we sort of have to make sure that there are 50 acres of developable land in there, which may mean making the zoning district that's somewhat significantly bigger than 50 acres to make sure that, we're going to be able to get 50 acres of backfill, because, road won't count. The acres in road won't count, and wetlands, as Doug said, won't count. So when the planning board, or in conjunction with us or by themselves, draw a line on that, there's got to be some kind of determination that there's at least 50 acres of.
Right, conservation land won't work, and large bodies of water won't work, and
right,
private land. like-
Technically, I think the school building won't work either, because it's public land, although if the town later decides to devote that up to housing, then it would count, but for now it won't. So for instance, that's a good chunk of land in some of these configurations, that wouldn't count as. Just saying it.
So Jesse, when we were at the planning board meeting, I got the feeling that, there were several members of the board that are questioning whether we should actually even do this. Now, we could say to the state, we're not complying with this law, we're not gonna do this. And then we would lose, I believe, 3 different types of grants, the one-stop grant, which the EDC has gotten $40,000 from, we wouldn't get that anymore going forward. And there were 2 other grants that we actually don't even get in this town. So I believe that the planning board was kind of weighing, if we accept this, how does it impact the town? And if we don't accept this and we don't comply, we don't do this zoning overlay or zoning district for housing. I think they were kind of weighing their options and deciding whether they were going to comply or not. And I do believe that that's their decision to whether they want to go forward or not, or did I misunderstand?
Well, the members of the planning board can, that's true. If a member of the board didn't feel like it was worthwhile to pursue it, they wouldn't vote to sponsor the zoning change. But my recollection from the last meeting was we were going to find out exactly what the stakes were.
Right.
And I have not seen that yet. I don't think that information has been distributed yet. So, I think you're correct, Dorian, that question was raised by at least 2 members of the board.
Sarah, doesn't it affect MassWorks grants,
I think so too.
which is millions of
I
dollars?
mean, we can speculate all night long, but Colleen is going to find out and let us know.
I can resolve the mystery. I have a copy of the statute. MBTA community that fails to comply with the section shall not be eligible for funds from Romanet 1, the housing choice, which you talked about. 2, local capital projects fund established pursuant to section 2, quadruple E of section 29. So I think that's what you're referring to, John. Roman F3, the Mass Works Infrastructure Program. So there are three major state land programs.
Is
we
that
would
chapter
qualify.
90?
No.
Okay, that's a separate thing.
I know those.
Do we
that's
have- So my understanding was 2 of those, we don't even get any money from. And the only one
Yeah,
we
tried
got
getting-
was the one stop.
We haven't gone after them that well. We haven't really pursued that many grants. We've
But
gotten,
we haven't gotten them in the past except for you with the one grant. for
and then we
$4,000.
get the $350,000 grant for that. Went sideways, I'll leave it at that. So there's grant money out there. A very local town here is getting, they're after $11 million right now to do culvert work on an infrastructure for an area of their town that they're having problems developing. And it's got a 10% match. So if you're willing to give up that kind of money to not have a plan in place, I mean, to me, it's extortion. I think it's crap, pardon my language, that the state's making us make this choice. The grant money, that's our money, that's tax money we paid in. So I think it's wrong that they're doing it, but I think it's something we need to do. You're gonna be giving up, I mean, most towns have full-time grant writers. Most towns go after a lot more grants than we do. I can name a dozen towns that got in the millions every year, size like this, because that's what they do. They go after it, they have a plan, they work it, and they get the money. We haven't done that enough, in my personal humble opinion. So to lose those ones to say, oh, well, we don't use those, we don't use them because we haven't gone after them. We haven't had the resources or the will.
Has the town talked about doing any kind of sewer projects?
We tried going after a one-stop for Route 9 to get,
Yeah, right. I
to
mean,
get
we
sewer
don't know
or
about
a
sewer
septic
in town.
treatment plant along it that we could build. And, you know, I know there's been some select board members that have been interested in that as well. And then it just got,
But my point is, if we ever want to do it in the future, if we don't do this, do the overlay district, we lose the opportunity to get some
Right.
funds.
like, we didn't get the last one, but if you keep going after and come up with more of a plan, or you can find like somebody that has a developer as a piece of land that wants to put in something and then like big, and then they're gonna put in a
Sewer.
a septic treatment plant on their property that maybe we could tie into some parts of Route 9, so we could have, you know, other restaurants, housing, biotech. There's so many different things that we lose on Route 9 by not going after Route 9. I mean, but if that's the will of the town to not really want to go after that, have that kind of development on Route 9, so be it, you know, that's the voters' choice, that's what town meetings. But if you want to go after these things, because everybody's like, oh, our taxes, oh, we're spending so much, because we're spending a ton and we have a revenue problem. You know, we're running out of, we have very limited affordable housing. We haven't added really any affordable housing that I can think of in the last 5 years that's been added. We haven't really added that much revenue to the town along because of the limitations of Route 9, zoning, water. Sewage. Those are the 3 things that we could get a lot of grant money for to go after and pursue, to have somebody just really dig in and go after it. I think we could do well. But that's a totally different conversation. But I think giving up the opportunities to go after grants, that's silly.
I mean, I did recommend that, in my opinion, we should go forward and meet the deadline for January 31st. File the first part of this with, and in a show of good faith that we are going to at least attempt to take a very serious look at going forward with this. So that was my recommendation, and I didn't speak on behalf of Shopc, I spoke, personally, because we hadn't really discussed what we would want them to do going forward, so.
Well, from our standpoint, and I would say this all the time, we're Shopc, our entire mission is to create housing.
Mhm.
So leaving aside, the Mass Works Infrastructure programs, that's a town-wide benefit that we'd be losing if we did it, but from Shopc, completely devoid of that. We should be in favor of this, because this is the creation of a zoning district that creates the opportunity for dense housing in the city.
I know that you think that pulling off the Route 9 kind of defeats the purpose of having a zone closer to the MBTA. But at least we have that opportunity, because if we can create that kind of a zone along Route 9,
Yeah,
now we can go to the state and say, look, this is part of our MBTA communities.
Yeah.
We have land, we've talked to other boards, committee, conservation, this, that, planning, everybody. We get all these boards and committees together saying that this is gonna be where we wanna have our MBTA communities part along Route 9. Now we have a plan, and now we can go after grant money for an infrastructure because we have a united plan and an idea how we're gonna do it. Then you can go after developers that you want to come in, friendly 40Bs, friendly 40Rs, whatever you want to try to get in along that part of Route 9. That just makes sense. to me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, go ahead, Andrew.
I apologize, I keep yapping.
So, Sarah, the maps that you had put together, were those before the regulations were changed so that you?
Yes.
Yes.
They
Yes.
were, yep, they were.
Oh,
So, so this is, the entirety of the 50 acres. So I could take another run at it again and put just the 20% by the, MBTA like station and then see, how much acreage that would give us along Route 9, if that would be helpful, just to have like a visual.
But ultimately, is it the case that the planning board, the planning department is the board that is going to make the decision as to whether or not to, that is responsible for complying with this deadline?
I think they are responsible for complying, but I think they have everything they need to comply, because with the, work that Colleen started and then with my additional edits, I think that, I would be comfortable submitting that along with, either our preliminary maps or maybe some other additional draft maps. But I think that we have collectively as a community, made enough progress to satisfy that deadline.
So there is an upcoming planning board meeting on December 12th. And I haven't seen the agenda yet, but I would assume that this is going to be on the agenda and will continue to be an agenda item going forward. And I do want to mention, I have a conflict that night. I've got a work event that I'm going to attend. So I will not be at the December 12th planning board meeting. But if anybody wants to attend to, advocate for this, I would just recommend putting that in your calendar. Thanks.
I think one thing that could be helpful for Sarah's, the maps that show the district with the full 50 acres around the train station look kind of scary, right? And
Sure.
I think there might be some value in producing different versions of those maps that just show really what would be the minimum required that has to be right next to the train station.
Sure.
And I mean, the issue that's unique to Southborough here is that the area immediately around the train station is not really ideally suited to this type of development. It's has historic characteristics, older homes, and they're actually some of the more affordable homes in town.
Mhm.
So I think that could be a good next step, and then it looks a little bit less kind of scary. And
I agree.
maybe inducement to, keep working on it and try to create an overlay district that has basically the minimum required by the train station, and then the maximum along Route 9.
I definitely think, well, first of all, I was surprised. It actually is a pretty small area when you look at it relative to the size of the town, right? 50 acres is not a big area. I do think when Sarah looks at it, there's a lot of wetlands areas that gotta come out anyways, right? Because they're not, there's a couple areas like on 85 and Porterville and the upper right, and it's all wetlands, right? All over the tracks. So, but I think it might be good to have some parameters where, first of all, I think also on Route 9 could be very interesting, right? It's right in the main transit, not transit, but highway access. I do think the South Union School should be included, right?
Yeah, it has to be.
So you got to get kind of contiguous there, so it is going to pick up some property along the way. I do agree it should be an overlay district, because that also keeps people, you're not taking away your existing rights, right, on your land, so.
No, it's an overlay district.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
there's
yeah,
no
so your zone is fine, yeah.
boundaries.
So, Again, I agree with Tom a little bit, that again, if we're serious about doing development, then I would say it would probably be good that it does pick up the property south of the tracks, including the MBTA parking lot, that was next to it. I just don't know if there's any historical issues with the other properties, that's on the
Well,
other side.
I don't necessarily want to pick up that land, because I don't know, oh, unless we're trying to get a 10 acres there, that is least obtrusive, then you can include that land, although I think public land won't count.
That's, well, or at least, what I'm saying is, the two biggest parcels, the South Union one and the one that's across the street, which I think is in Parkview Pool. Right, or what's that?
Garfield Pool's on Route 9.
No, there's a staging.
Right up there.
Oh.
Yeah,
But
that's
one quick, one quick reminder on that is, again, these are supposed to be developable land, so I think the 20% that's closest to the train station has to be developable. So the South Union School building right now, I don't think qualifies as developable land, even though it should still be in the zone.
because it's town. name.
Sure.
Yeah, with public land. So,
Is that confirmed? Or is that my question?
yeah, it's in the guidelines. I'll just read it. So when you do up the zone, you probably, if we want to include the South Union School building, which we should, and you need to.
0.2 acres.
But that means that the portion that's near the train station has to be bigger than 10 acres, because it has to be. You know, what I mean, it has to be 10 acres beside the South Union School building.
Feasibly. You
Does that make sense, Sarah?
That does make sense. Yep. And I apologize, but I actually have another meeting to go to tonight.
Hang on one second. So would you guys be okay if I asked Sarah to
Yep.
do the math?
Yeah, please
And
do.
we would have to be reaching into some of our ARPA grants in order to keep working on this. It is housing, it's
Oh,
okay.
yeah, she
I
was almost
just-
running out of.
No, but I just want to clarify with the board. I'd like you to all give your opinion. We don't have to have an official vote on it, but I want to make sure that you're okay to have her. All right, so Sarah, could you go ahead and work on some mapping?
Sure.
And get that out to me and I'll get that to the board as soon as I receive it from you.
Sounds
And then,
good.
again, my last 2 cents on it, I think whatever the rest of the district did should have the planning boards in, because they're the people who really know what the right. They're the planners of the town that know what the best places are for, for density.
I would send that over to Sarah and, I mean, to,
Sarah's
Karina as
probably
well.
working with the planning board.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure. I could get those drafted up and then get them over to the planning board in advance of their meeting next week.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Sarah.
Great.
Appreciate it. Thanks for jumping on.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks,
Okay.
everyone. I've got a jet.
Yeah,
Thank you.
good night.
Bye.
The biggest losses we had in this town. We lost.
I know. Very sad. Okay, municipal I can't, it's such a mouthful. Special municipal employee, SME. We need to continue the discussion about whether or not we would like to ask the Board of Selectmen to appoint Shopc as special municipal employees.
I make a motion that we vote in favor of making shops members, special municipal employees.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, now we're gonna have some discussion. That was fast. So I did talk to Jim Hegarty. And he said there are no negative connotations, affiliations, any connection in any way, shape, or form with anyone's jobs. With getting that title, what it does, it protects the employees and the companies from conflict of interest, and as long as that's my.
And you still have to fill out the conflict of interest, perceived conflict of interest forms as you would anyway. Like where Jesse, you were saying you deal with you're in a national company that you could have to worry about, potentially having one of your clients in on it. So I'm sure that you filled out the non-compete, the perceived conflict of interest form as well. So it would help me, because I work state and local government. So I need to have it, or I have it.
I mean, your clients.
My clients are state and local governments.
Yeah, okay.
And my district actually should include this area, but it doesn't right now because
So
I don't have that designation.
I think, SME is appropriate where I think this board is appropriate for an SME designation because the Shopc is not a permitting board or adjudicatory board. It's really more of a policy recommendation
advisory.
board.
At best.
And the other boards that are designated as special municipal employee, like the advisory committee. Are also
And they all
council on aging, et cetera. The
board
EDC.
assessors.
yeah.
EDC,
So,
election.
you know, I will say there has been some controversy in the past about some people don't believe there should be.
That's why I wanted to make it a discussion with this committee. I brought it up to ask, I asked for it to be on the agenda to be public because. I believe I could have just gone and asked to put it on the Board of Selectmen's meeting myself. I would never do that to ask a board. Just because I've seen what happened to when somebody else did. Does it make that big of a difference to the committee or any rights that we can do? We're not funding anything. We're not making any bylaws. So, but again, I wanted to make sure that it was the decision of the board, not me, whatever you guys decide, I'm totally fine with. I'm gonna abstain from the discussion, you know, as well as the goal.
I think it benefits us all. I mean, I think that it's to all of our benefit to be special use municipal employees. I mean, if someone was Concavino was representing the developer that came before became before the board, you can recuse yourself, but your firm wouldn't be stopped from acting. Which I generally see as a good thing. If the person that's on the board isn't involved in the matter, his or her whole company shouldn't be disqualified.
Yeah, I don't think I'm a good example though, because I'm a select board. And that hasn't- So.
Maybe
I'm a municipal employee,
one
so-
of my colleagues from Hinkley was representing a developer in front of the planning board. Somebody came before shops. I would recuse myself, but I would think that Hinkley shouldn't be disqualified.
It protects the companies, it protects the person sitting on the board. Does anybody know, Jim said there was nothing negative about getting that classification for this board. Jesse, did you read the stuff that I sent?
I have not had a chance to review it, but if Haggerty said it's okay with me.
I mean, I did ask, I specifically asked him that.
I was
Okay.
hopeful to know these other committees are already SMEs as well, so. At least for these.
Yeah, there's
like,
7
committee is
seven
that much
listed.
different than their roles, so.
Okay, so, any more discussion? Anybody, well, you can't, you go away. Jesse, any questions or anything?
I think we should move the question.
Okay, we're gonna take a vote. This is gonna be a roll call vote because we have Jesse on Zoom. Jesse,
Aye.
Ben, Doug,
I,
Tom,
Aye.
next.
Aye.
Andrew,
Andrew, aye.
Dorian, I, okay?
John, I'm gonna abstain,
Yep, John is abstaining. Okay,
but I was.
next meeting.
Jesse, do you know what time on that, on the planning board meeting on the 12th, that might be part of the discussion, because I don't know what time.
That's a good question. So to Dorian's point, the agendas usually have the public hearings for the projects that are in process at the beginning of the meetings, and those can be long and torturous. So
Yeah.
That works in my favor,
that
though.
is that's the ongoing challenge to the planning board is time management and efficiency. So once the agenda gets posted, you know what, if you want to just remind me that you might want to attend, I can kind of get in. I can
Get back to 8 or so, which could work out
Totally fine.
pretty decent.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, maybe I can get in, like, have a little chat with Karina or Mimi to see what we can do about it. Again, I won't be at that meeting. I will certainly be at the January meeting though. And of course, the deadline being January 31st, that's less effective. So as we get closer to the 12th, why don't, John, was that you who asked that question?
Yes, it was. I'll shoot you a text.
All right, why don't I talk to you like Thursday or Friday?
Sounds great. Yeah, if I could attend to just see what they're thinking, that would be great.
Is it a Zoom meeting, Jesse? Or is it in person?
Yeah, they're always both. I'm always doing Zoom. The rest of the board meets in person, but I'm a Zoomer.
I never thought I'd embrace Zoom as much as I do now. Like I was saying just before we got here, you know, a Zoom meeting would have taken me 15 minutes, but I had a meeting at North Shore that was like an hour and a half ride home. So it would have been nice to. I've embraced it. It's nice and it's recorded.
Exactly. Okay, next meeting, how about if we look at the second week of January? Give everybody time to recuperate from the holiday.
That sounds good.
So which day during that week looks good?
Yeah.
Jesse, when's the planning board meeting that week?
Right now, it's on the calendar for the 9th.
Okay,
So I would recommend we meet on like Tuesday, the 10th,
how does the 10th work for everyone?
not in the morning though.
Yeah.
No, how about if we do it at night again at 7?
That's okay with me.
Will we have the option of doing this by Zoom or in person?
Yeah.
Just going forward?
Sure.
Okay. Just in case I
Haven't
get
seen
lost.
everybody.
No, I know, it's good. I'm glad to see.
That's not personal, but I do prefer in person. It's just easier discussion.
I think
than
so
on
too.
Zoom, But I'm mindful of everyone's, this is volunteer and everyone's professional obligation, so.
So the 10th at 7, is that what you said?
The 10th, January 10th at 7 PM. I will make it a in-person Zoom meeting. So those who would like to attend in person,
Ooh, January 10th at 7 p.m.
yes, please. And that's not a board of selectmen meeting night. It's a
We
Tuesday
meet on
night.
Tuesdays, but I think we meet on the 1st and 3rd.
Okay,
I don't know whether. I'm just gonna pencil it in here, right?
okay. If there's an issue with that.
Yep.
Let us.
Yeah, just put it to, so that's good. So it's gonna be both hybrid, so like if I'm driving, I can jump on. Oh,
So I will send
Thank
a request to the board of selectmen, or can you just ask,
It's.
you need a special request?
About the SME.
Yes.
With this, I can send an email right now. I'm also gonna just quickly. Check the date.
okay, so now you gotta vote on that, right, Andrew? Thank you. That's good. I like the next.
You like it? I like it.
Oh,
For some reason, I have a Shopc meeting on the 16th. We didn't have one scheduled for the 16th. January 16th.
Do we?
I have it on my calendar for some reason.
We'll take that right out. It could be, we
Okay.
may have done that earlier. Nope,
We're good, we're good.
nope. we're happy.
yeah, no, 16th Martin Luther King Day. We will be able to have a meeting on there.
Yeah, it's Martin Luther King Day. Okay. Thank you, everybody. This, we have to vote to adjourn. Most make a motion,
Oh, so moved.
have a motion to adjourn. So moved. Do I have a second?
Second,
Yes. Doug beat you.
That was
Okay.
quick,
roll
Jen.
call. Jesse,
oh,
Vote.
aye.
Doug,
I.
Tom,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
John,
Bye.
Brianne, I, okay, adjourned. Thank you for coming, gentlemen. I appreciate your help.
Hey, Tom,
Yeah.
look, could you let me know if you post for Friday morning?
Oh, I'm going to post. I'm gonna send it out tomorrow.
Okay, all right, I will facilitate.
Okay, thank you. I'll copy you on the email.